Hello and welcome to developing empathy in early childhood. This is an absolutely critical skill. Many adults ask me, Raylene, how can I get 2-year-olds to quit hitting? How can I get 5-year-olds to stop talking back? How can I get 3-year-olds to help me clean? And all of this can be influenced by empathy. If they have a sense of empathy and understanding from a different person's perspective, they're going to be able to help us do the things we need to do because they'll understand that they're influencing how we feel. And how they behave makes a difference and really impacts those around them. So I'm going to talk a little bit today about development. What can we expect of those toddlers, preschoolers, and older kids? Because their cognitive capacities, where their brains are, is going to make all the difference. So I'll start out with a story like I love to do. So here I am. I have a 2 and a 6-year-old, 2 girls, and the 6-year-old is being driven absolutely crazy by the 2-year-old. Why? The 2-year-old keeps taking all of her toys, gets in her way. She's trying to build a tower. She goes in to knock the tower down. And so she's getting really frustrated. Every single time she wants anything, whether it's a hug from mom or a toy, little Audrey is just trying to take it, trying to push her away from me. My mom hugging me. I mean, the 6-year-old just has had it. She's had enough. So she maybe needs some empathy for that 2-year-old. Maybe that will help her. So I decided to take some time to teach her about 2-year-old development. And I just taught her, Haley, it's not about you. Audrey really isn't doing it to make you mad. She's not doing it to frustrate you. What happens with 2-year-old development is they're in a stage where they need to own everything. So they just go crazy. They just want to have it so bad they can't control themselves. Isn't that sad? So she can't even understand that this is just an impulse and she doesn't know what to do about it. And so to show Haley what I was talking about, we did an experiment. So Haley picks up a little stuffed animal and Audrey's like, mine, mine. So she gives it to her. Then she picks up a parasol. Mine, mine. So she gives it to her. So whatever Audrey wants, she gives it to her until Audrey's hands are totally full like this. And then Haley picks up a piece of paper and she goes, with this little ripped piece of paper, she holds it up like this. And Audrey goes, mine, mine. And she's trying to take her little fingers to grab the piece of paper. Her arms are full of all these toys. And Haley and I just laughed. And she felt so much less stress after that as she realized that the 2-year-old isn't out to get her. The 2-year-old just developmentally is not in a stage where she can think, oh, my older sister feels bad. She really wants to own a toy too. So I should give her a toy. She's not there yet. So what I'm going to do is help the older child understand the younger child and where that younger child is coming from so that they feel less stress about it and kind of understand. And they can have some empathy. What does that feel like for this little 2-year-old who just has to own everything? It's not like they're having fun either. So that helped me that day. So I'm going to share, there's some ideas in there, as there is every story I tell has strategies and ideas in it. But I'm going to share 7 other ones and build on this concept today. So I'm really super glad that you're here. So empathy is a learned skill. It takes executive functions, the manager of the brain, that part of your brain that, I'm 50. I'm not just going to quit a job and walk out if I get mad at my boss. But a 16-year-old might, because that part, that higher level thinking skill is not fully developed until they're in their mid-20s. So imagine you're 2 or 4 or 8. Yeah, you got a ways to go. So empathy is a learned skill, and it uses those higher level thinking skills that some kids don't have yet. It's impacted by development. It can be impacted by temperament. So one of my daughters is very high sensitivity. She had a lot of empathy from a young age because she was able to observe and pick up the cues of people around her, the messages they're sending if they're hurt or it's too loud for them. She really was sensitive to that, so she could have more empathy for those feelings because she was recognizing them. And also they shift and change with life. So if I'm under a lot of stress and a lot of pressure, it's going to be harder for me to tap into that empathy. If I'm super tired out, it's at the end of the day, it's going to be harder for me to have empathy. Maybe some of you guys can relate to that. So empathy is a learned skill, and it uses those higher level thinking skills. So it's a social intellectual skill. So it's not just social between you and I, it's emotional too, and it's cognitive. So I have to be able to actually discern that you think and feel something different than me. So when you say it's hot in here, and I'm like, it's fine in here, I have to be able to acknowledge and see and understand that you might feel hot. Even though I don't feel hot right now, you might feel hot. So that's a cognitive skill. You have to have accumulated knowledge about how different people might feel in different situations. So when my daughter was 6, I learned about temperament, and I learned that she was just wired more intense, and she was wired more sensitive. So that's why she was complaining about seams in her clothes, because she actually felt those. So that accumulated knowledge I got helped me have more empathy for her and understanding. She wasn't doing it just to get at me. So it's also being able to put aside my thoughts and my feelings and recall different situations and think about how somebody else might feel in that situation based on my acquired knowledge. So it takes a lot to have empathy. I also have to be attuned. I have to be able to attune to what you're feeling. So what does this mean in a nutshell? Children need to learn, what am I feeling? And what can I do about it? And then comes empathy. Well, what are they feeling? And what can I do about it? So that's higher level thinking. That what am I feeling? What are the words? Where am I coming from here? And what can I do when I feel this way? When I feel so angry, I want to hit. What can I do instead? That's acquired. And then what are you feeling? What can I do about it? So every strategy I share with you today is going to come underneath this umbrella, right? So this executive functions part that I'm talking about, they need to be able to think flexibly about different situations. And then even if they understand and they're attuned to what somebody else is feeling, they have to be able to put themselves in their place, feel that feeling, and then control their impulse. So kids under 3.5 really have trouble controlling their impulses. So they might say something that's going to hurt somebody's feelings just because they don't have that impulse control yet. Some adults do. So it's skills to learn. And again, they have to be able to reflect. They have to be able to ponder what somebody else might be thinking or feeling and know that it might be different from them. So essentially, they have to be able to put themselves in somebody else's shoes. So when you think about development, what can you expect? Well, infants, they kind of have a primitive form of empathy. If another infant really cries, they might cry too. So it's kind of more of a reflex almost. By the time they're toddlers, they're testing cause and effect. They're those scientists. Everything in their body says, do it. And they're not really attuned to other people's needs. So they might pet a baby so nicely and then poke them in the eye or pull their hair. So they're not going to have much empathy yet, but they do have a budding sense of empathy. So that little toddler has the ability to kind of see maybe that another little toddler is crying, and they might go over and pat their shoulder or something like that. But it's not true empathy, because in the next moment, they might grab that toy and take it away. So they still have a me-centered focus. It's just a little sense of empathy. And they're practicing their autonomy, saying for themselves. And some are sensitive to other people's feelings, but other toddlers are not sensitive to your feelings at all. You might have noticed this range. So think about, if this is where kids are developmentally, how can we support them where they are? Knowing that just like a 1-year-old isn't going to speak in full, complete sentences, they're also not going to be able to have this wonderful, deep level sense of empathy. It's going to take a long time through their interactions with you. So developmental expectations 3 to 5. Gosh, I love this. Unequivocally skilled at reading, anticipating, and responding to the feelings and plans of their baby siblings. So they can start to get empathy for their siblings and adapt depending. So we can help them with that. I'm going to give you ideas. So the ideas you're going to get today, you can actually help with sibling relationships. You can help with your relationship with your child. Might even help you with other people you know. We're getting there, almost there. So by the time they're school age, thank you, they have more skills in this area, especially if you've helped build the skills. Not every child will have empathy skills. It's going to be dependent on their experience. Do they get the experiences that help them build those skills? So they have an increased attention span increased self-control. Their higher level thinking skills are there, so they understand more complex emotions, and they can put themselves in other people's place. They can also conceal their emotions. So they might feel really mad, but take a deep breath and not look mad on the outside. They'll keep it inside. So this is once they get to school age, they can start to have some of these executive functions, more control. And they've moved from more open play to more team-oriented play. So they have a more of a desire to partner, more buy-in, to have empathy for other people, because they want them to play. They want to have fun with them. Whereas toddlers, they don't cooperative play yet. They're more me focused. So knowing that here they are, you got this whole feeling of where they are developmentally. The last thing to think about is, when are the teachable moments? So this is stress hormone in the body going up. Calm, cool, relax, all the way up to, they're throwing a tantrum. When they're throwing a tantrum, that's not when we're going to teach empathy. There's something we can do. That's the very last thing I'm going to share with you today. But in reality, when they're freaking out, when they're falling apart, they're not going to be open to your feedback. So I'll talk about what to do, and you'll kind of get a feel for these different stages as we go. So here we go. Are you ready? 7 strategies in about 3 minutes. You got this. And you're going to walk away and you're going to tell me, which one are you going to do today? What are you going to do this week? What's really valuable of these for you? So, number 1, show sensitivity to others' feelings. They learn a lot from watching how you interact with others. So if you're at the grocery store and you see somebody in front of you getting agitated because the line's taking a long time, you might later recognize with your 3-year-old, oh, did you see that person in line? They were getting so stressed out about waiting. They were getting really tense. Did you see that? I wonder what they could have done to help themselves calm down. So you're just having a sensitivity to other people's feelings. If your mother-in-law is over and says, oh, I'm so frustrated with, whoever their dad is, right? I'm so frustrated with what he's doing. You might say, just label their feelings and be sensitive to that. You might notice other kids and their feelings, even at the park, and just label them, talk about them, so that they can start to identify what is the child feeling and what might they do about it. So that's going to help them develop empathy as they hear the words and see outside of themselves. So here's a really big one. When you're seeing the children engage with each other, help interpret their behavior. Help interpret the messages that they're sending each other. Because remember, I have to be able to recognize, what is this child doing and what is this other child feeling, and what might I do about it? And so we're going to help them. They don't know yet. So in this case, the little girl's building a tower, the other little girl's getting a little frustrated. So I'm going to be present and I'm going to label their feelings and say something like, oh, do you see little Miss Mary? She's getting so frustrated. She's saying, I don't want you to take my toy. I'm saying it very accentuated because these are toddlers. These are little ones. I wouldn't say it that big if it was, a 5 and a 6-year-old. But the same idea, you're interpreting the messages they're sending. So she's saying, no, I don't want you to do that. Can you feel how that would help the other child start to hear, oh, okay. And so you could give them ideas of what to do about that. But the idea is, you're going to infuse all this emotional language into the day-to-day. What emotions do you see around you? What do you see the kids feeling? And you're going to label those. And then they'll start to be able to internalize it and understand it. And then their empathy will grow. So what's another one? Oh, this is the video I'm going to show you briefly. And you'll show she's just labeling their feelings and helping them communicate. This is developing their empathy. Here we go.
Emily, we don't want to put your hands on him. That hurts when you put your hands on my friends. I don't like it. You're right. You don't like it. You tell her. Emily, did you hear his words? I like it. Yeah, and she didn't like it when you put your hands on her.
I love that little video because it shows so clearly how you can just be there and support and provide help. And could you see how this might be developing empathy and understanding, being able to hear and understand different perspectives there? Because she's really promoting that communication between the toddlers. So another option when something like this is happening, when you see an aggressive act, is when you come in, you really focus on the child that's been hurt. So I wouldn't say, oh, no, no hitting, and get really into the no hitting part of it. Focus on the empathy, focus on the understanding. Now, I have a whole blog post on that dealing with aggressive moments, but I just wanted to call that back because you really can label what emotions you're seeing, but you can also come in and show empathy for that child that's been hurt because of mirror neurons. Because when I feel something strongly, it creates that feeling in the kids. You're going to help move them from, I want to hit, to, wait, what? And they'll start to feel empathy. That's what you want. You want to tap into their internal budding empathy, right? So in this case, I might say, go up for the child that's been hurt. I would create a block, right? I would make it so, remove the child at least a little bit so they're not hurting. Child that I would say, oh, are you okay, honey? And I would pet their head and I would say, oh no, we should get them an ice pack, or let's give them a pat on the shoulder. Oh, we want to take care of our friends. So you're really going to respond to the child that's been hurt. That's going to help that child see, oh, this is how I should be acting. It promotes that empathy. So you're relaying information about this is what you're doing and this is the result. So you do it with other people, you do it with the kids, and you also do it yourself. So the child comes up and they do something aggressive and you say, ow, that hurts. Oh no, that hurts me so much. You're showing them it hurts. Now, if you have a 3-year-old who says, you're not the boss of me, you, oh, that hurts my feelings. Or a 4-year-old says, I hate you. Oh, that hurts my feelings. You said I hate you, and that makes me feel really sad. Do you see how that would help them realize that their action is creating a reaction? That's how you learn how to develop empathy, is to understand that your actions influence other people. You also might build on that and say things like, oh, you gave me a hug. That made me feel so good. You patted your friend's back when he was sad. And did you see that made him feel so much better? So when you're catching these behaviors, they're going to start to increase. That's what we want. We want to promote empathy. So the last piece is to act things out. You know, I love my puppets. Those who know me from my presentations know I love my puppets. Why? Because kids love puppets. So another scenario is I take my puppets and I just start acting something out. So I'll say, oh, they're playing. They're having fun together. Oh, yay, you're playing. Oh, I want it. Oh, I took the toy. Oh, no, Lion, are you okay? Oh, Lion's sad. Let's take care of Lion. Let's give him a turn. Oh, dear. I'm sorry, Lion. I can tell you right now, you do this with 2-year-olds, they are going to be spellbound. Maybe even 3 and older. They're going to be watching and going, oh, yeah, look, he feels sad. Yeah, take care of him. And then they're going to be more likely to do that behavior. So what I'm going to do when I put this up on the blog is I'm actually going to link to some books that are going to help teach and build empathy. So it's a wonderful way to build those empathy skills, reading books and using media. Because what you can do is you're in the middle of reading a book and you can talk about, how does this character feel? What did the other character do? What could he have done differently to help him? And so you're just linking, here's actions and here's the reactions or the feeling that comes out in the other child. And so even up to 8 years old and even older, even adults, if you read stories of, moral stories that show, like, when you're doing these types of things, this is the behavior that it brings up. That starts to get people to have more empathetic response. So modeling and demonstrating empathy for the child's feelings is one of the biggest, most important things you can do. So it's my very last tip for today. Are you ready? Yeah. One last tip. So when you show empathy for the child, when they're in a very difficult position, it's the very best way that you can promote empathy, because then they get to feel it. They get to experience it in their heart of hearts. And that's when they really internalize it the most. So you've recognized it in other people. You've mentioned it in yourself. You've helped them see the perspective, looking at what they're doing to other kids and how they're having other kids feel as a result. Now you're going to talk about their own feelings. So when they're going through stress, they might get really chaotic, like, get really sad, or they might get really rigid and lock in and say, no, you can't make me. Those are both stress responses. So how can you come in to help the child? So in that moment, I have to press the pause button because I'm frustrated or I'm angry. I want them to calm down. So I have to really think, I'm going to connect. I'm not going to get in there and you hit again, or you were mean to your friend again, or there you are not including your friend. Look at how that made her feel. That's how I want to jump in. But instead, I'm going to get down there and try and label feelings. So helping the child feel heard takes getting down at their level, opening your hands up and saying, I'm here to help. I'm here to help. You're really having difficulty right now. You being there and showing that empathy and that understanding is really going to make it so that child gets it. They start to get empathy in their soul. And the reason we want that is because then even when we're not around, they'll still be showing and feeling empathy. I just want to say thank you for taking the time today to join me for this nap time nugget that again was kind of a big nugget. What are we going to do next time? Perspective taking. In order to have empathy, you need to be able to take the perspective of others. So next week, I'm going to give specific tips and tools. It will be a nugget. It will be shorter. But these nuggets are going to give you a specific idea of how you can increase perspective taking in kids 3 and older. And so you can get them to start to see from somebody else's perspective, which helps build that empathy and understanding. So I want to just say, thank you from the bottom of my heart for taking time out of this day. And I hope you got something valuable. And I can't wait to see you next week. If you need to go, over and out. Otherwise, I will be around to answer questions. Thank you so much, guys. Have a great day.